good. What's happening? Everything is good. I've
Good.
been working. Where did you leave?
I just got to turn on my cool lights.
Oh, cool lights. All right, nice. How
There
have
you
you
go.
been? How was your like long time no see actually?
Yeah, I think that's camp. So August, so things are good. Things are in flow, which is like a big thing right now. I bought this little reminder, and it says, "Let it go, let it flow." This is my new like constant reminder of just it's just stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I glue it right there. I think. All right, cool. All right, let's rock and roll. What are we doing today?
All right. We are having a few questions, and I would like to, based on the answer, based on more things that are gonna happen today, I want you to be part of our book,
Hmm.
like be in the book, and I hope you like that too.
So
And
here's what's happening. You're interviewing me to ask me questions that will be translated into a book.
no, it'll be a few things that I will I will tell you at the end, like how I see it, like how I see how is it gonna be, but it won't be like a question answer. That's not how I see it.
Okay.
Okay,
Well, I'm ready. I'm ready to go, and I blocked out 30 minutes, and then I got 18
let's
million
do
things
it.
happening. So let's
Let's
go.
do it. All right. So if there is if there is a few words or like a few things that you would describe yourself, how would you tell? Like you are in the middle of a lot of people which don't know you. How how would you describe yourself? Who is Greg Reid?
I'd say energetic is a good word because I'm always positive and happy and positive. I have a good attitude and outlook towards life.
Okay.
The other one would be connected because I happen to have made many good friends and alliances in my life, which is one of my greatest blessings. And I mean, things that I'm so grateful for in my sphere of influence. So I'd say, I'm positive, connected, and the last one would be it's more than one word. A kick-ass dad. I'd say I'm a good dad, right? It's so interesting. Many of us grew up without parent figures in our life. There's a lot of single parents and things of this nature, and I got to be the dad that I never had as a kid to my son. And it's just so awesome to live vicariously through his eyes and then plant this information and knowledge that I've learned into him without expectation of what he does with it. It's like, there's a big difference between being detached and non-attached. Detached means you don't care, but non-attached means you give it everything you got, but you're not attached to the outcome. And by having that type of mentality, it's pretty cool because you feel fulfilled because you got to breathe it into life, but it's up to the other person to take it and add momentum.
That's so cool. I never
Mhm.
thought of a difference between detach and, I mean, I knew the detach exactly as you explained it, but I never thought that there's like a different word for it. Not
Yeah,
attached.
well, so yeah, I think it was Daniel Laporte. You should go look her up. Is the one who really came up with the concept. And it's interesting. So, I've done 140 books, 45 different languages, in all the bookstores. I got a star on the Walk of Fame. Yet, every time I birth a book, I give it everything I got. But once it's released, I'm done. It's not my job whether people like it or read it or review it or what. It's just not. I let it go. I birth it and then I go to the next project. And by doing that, that's how I get to do movies and TV and events and things of this nature. I don't get caught up in just one project.
And how do you do that? Like being 100% into something and then being able to detach from it, like not
Have
attached.
non-attachment. Yes.
Yeah,
Well, again, I don't detach because I still am
yeah, yeah,
connected.
not attached.
But I'm not attached to the outcome, and that's very, very different. So, again, it's that old. There's an old quote, and I'm sure I'm going to screw it up, but basically, it's not my responsibility how you feel towards me. You know what I mean? It's your thoughts. I might remind you of an ex-boyfriend or someone who beat you up in school, and something like that. So therefore, I'm not responsible for your reflection of how you feel, and I feel it's the same way towards the books and the things I write. Plus, to be quite honest with you, I got ghostwriters who write this stuff, so if people come back to me and go, man, it was written like a 3-year-old, I go, all right, sounds good. I mean, I didn't write it. I can't take it personal. It's like, sounds good.
But where does this drive to write so many, I mean, to publish so many books? Because yeah, it's about publishing them. Because you
Yeah,
contribute to you give everything into it, even if it's a ghostwriter, it doesn't mean that you're not there. It's your work as well. And why so many books? Like why books? How do you see books? Why out of all the possibilities you started with books?
because I'm the least qualified guy to write one. And I thought it'd be a great project to do as a undertaking because, I'm dyslexic. I can't
Mhm.
spell. I can't read very well. If you play me words with friends, you'll win every single time. And so I'm very clear and upfront. And I say, look, an author is a person whose name goes on a book, and a writer is the person who wrote the book. They're usually two different people. And what I do is I'm a good orator. So I will sit down with my editors and writers and say, okay, here's the idea. A boy wants a bicycle and he has an entrepreneurial dream. He gets off his ass, he takes his dad's lawnmower, he mows the neighbor's yards, he makes enough money, and then he buys the bike. And then it comes back to me. It was a glorious Sunday afternoon when a young, bright eyed lad caught the entrepreneurial dream as he went outside, right? So they take my word, it's my message, but they craft it in a way people would want to read it. So I'm still very attached to it.
You know what I see is like from what
Correct.
you're saying, like we want some goals in our lives because there is a specific way of being that is available to us when we reach it. You
Mhm.
said it, you are the most unqualified person to do it, but once you started to write, like to have books, publish books, right? There is
Right.
sort of a way of being that became available to you. What was it?
Connections. It always goes down that same connection. So when I did my first book called The Millionaire Mentor, I was turned down by 268 publishers, agents, and printers in a row. The 200,
I remember the box of rejection letters.
right? Exactly. So I kept them just because people don't believe me because I've had so much quote unquote success in this industry. They don't believe it. So I kept those. And the moral is that I never will let another person or myself talk me out of what I know to be true. I don't hope, I don't wish, I don't believe. I know. So I knew I could do this. I just didn't know how. And so when I had my first manuscript and I was sending it out, getting rejected, if I go back and look at that now, oh my God, it makes my stomach turn because again, I can't read. I'm dyslexic. It made no sense. So what happened is when they sat me down and said, hey, you need a ghostwriter to recraft it, then it all came to life. And for example, for people that are reading this right now, is I was turned down by 268 publishers. However, when someone finally picked it up and it got published, it became a global phenomenon. And one quote from that book was shared 37 million times. And it sits there and says, a dream written down with a date becomes a goal. A goal broken into steps becomes a plan backed by action makes your dreams come true. It's a very famous quote. It's been shared all over the world. And what if I would have let 50 rejections or 80 or 150 or 212 stop me? Well, millions and millions of people would not have been inspired by that quote because I let other people tell me what I could and could not do.
That's crazy. I like that.
There you
I
go.
really like that. You know, there is one moment. I have a picture of you. I'm gonna show it to you. You remember this one?
Uh,
You see the
oh,
dictionary?
yeah. I was sitting,
What is it with this dictionary? Because you brought like an English dictionary, old one that because I remember that I took a picture of it because it impressed me something there, and I wanted to understand like what's the story behind this, and also you went to look for the Napoleon Hill um first writers, like the first draft of how he wrote the book on Think and Grow Rich. And I wanted to understand why you were looking for the what was the thinking behind like what's with the dictionary because I remember something I took a picture I remember now I feel that I have to ask it. I don't remember why I took that picture, but now I know that if you're gonna tell I'm gonna remember it.
okay, well, you're asking two extremely different questions. So I'm gonna just I'll do a short one and then I'll do a long one. So the Napoleon Hill Foundation, there's a book written by Napoleon Hill called Think and Grow Rich. The original title was called Oodle for Your Noodle. And so what I wanted to do was actually see the very first transcription of the very first book, version that he ever did, to see if there was any differences, because people talk about the 1937 text that was originally published. Then what happened is when they came out with the paperback, Napoleon Hill went through it and crossed out words and paragraphs so that they could make it shorter so it'd fit into your back pocket. So I just thought it would be interesting to see if there was a difference between. So that's what that was. But back to your dictionary question, is completely different. All right. So again, everyone needs to do their own research. I'm going to preface this because someone shared with me, like I'm going to share with you, as vague as I'm going to share with you, and then it's up to you to do something with it or not or whatever. So someone came up to me and one time at an event and said the English dictionary was changed in 1945 after the war. And I said, no, that's not true. And he goes, well, it is true. And so I didn't believe it. And so I started pressing. And they said, well, back in the 1700s, like 1778, it's pretty close to it, they came out with the first English dictionary. But the only people that would have a dictionary would be philosophers, doctors, poets. The average person working in a coal mine didn't need a dictionary. And so the original words that came out were different than we know today. But then in the 1800s, they started playing with it a little bit more. But in 1945, they completely changed many of the words and the meanings of it. And I just thought it was very interesting. So what I did is I got an old dictionary. And that's what you just saw. It's a very, very, very old dictionary. And I started looking up the words to see how it's been, changed. So for example, the word passion. Everyone sits there and says, go find your passion and the money will follow. Well, the word passion by the original definition meant to suffer. Passion meant suffering. Hence, passion of the Christ, right? It was to be nailed to the cross and crucified, passion of the Christ. So the whole idea is that I went, holy smokes. I go, we tell everyone to find our passion. We're telling people to suffer. I go, that's interesting. And then I said, well, commitment. You got to have commitment to what you do. And then I looked up the original definition, and it meant to be confined to an insane asylum or to prison. I went, wait, committed to an insane asylum. I go, holy smokes. I go, so first saying I want to be committed to my passion, you're saying I want to be thrown in jail with my suffering. And I'm like going, holy smokes. So I started peeling another page and another page. And it was mind-boggling what I found. And so when we see these bumper stickers saying like, I want $1 million and I'll follow my passion and I'll follow my commitment until, it was actually the worst thing you could say in personal development, according to the original text. So then I go, if it's in 1945, I go, what if the old Bible, if you read that today compared to before with the new translations? And then I started peeling and peeling and peeling, and it got really down a rabbit hole. But the moral of the story is, once you're enlightened a little bit of some of these these facts of information, it's kind of fun to go through and investigate to see what you're really saying. That's it.
That's very interesting what you're saying, because it comes back to the way how we are programmed within our language. Because I'm not sure if you're so aware of what exactly you did there, because you went back to actually go against the way we are taught to speak our languages, and to what those words actually mean, and how we program ourselves into passion, as you said, into suffering, but who gave that meaning as well? So it's interesting
that's true too. Even the original person who did it. So for example, like I'm going to mess this up, so someone will have to go look it up. But I think the original thing was saying, I need. The word need meant unwilling, and saying want means that you don't have. So if you say like, I need $1 million, you're saying I'm unwilling to have $1 million. So when people say I need to lose weight and I want to be at this weight, says I'm unwilling to lose weight and I am not at this thing, and it programs our brain. So when you start looking at some of the original words, like I said, it's pretty interesting. All right, I want to move on because, like, again, I can go down this. I'm trying to be as surface on this one, but it's pretty interesting.
I will just say one thing, and it comes to me with a thought that you don't really need words. Just do what you feel. It just comes to how you feel it. One question.
Okay, I'm gonna stop. I'm gonna stop on that one. This is an interesting thing you just said, because there's a TV show that's out right now, and it's called Wednesday. And basically, it's on the old Addams family, and it's the #1 trending TV show in the world right now. And there's one character called Thing, which is just a hand. There's no attachment, it's just a hand that walks around. And that hand has more dialogue and conversation than all the people talking, because it can't speak, it's just a hand. So it sits there and says, like, Thing, should we go over here? And he goes, hey, Thing, what do you think? He goes, so the hand, this one hand makes more gestures and more things, like a thing, than the actual dialogue. So you're sometimes we can be right. I mean, actions, reactions, and our body movement speaks more than our words ever do. I could sit there and say, I want to be successful, and just me shaking my head no means I don't, right?
Interesting. Yeah,
How many
that's
times you
pretty.
ever seen that go, you should come to my thing? And I'm telling you, there's nothing quite like it compared to, you've got to come to my thing. It's incredible. I'm saying the same words, except this is yes and this is no.
It comes back. I mean, I'm thinking about the Chris Voss, which is like a negotiator at the FDA or something like that. He was analyzing people when they would have interviews, or analyzing their body language. Right.
100%.
You know what was I was curious about? If you look backwards, if you know that you can connect the dots while you look backwards, how the secret knot started, and how what you were thinking before creating it, because for it to materialize in your life, it was a thought first, or something like an idea. How, if you can tell me a bit of the journey through until you got to make it.
Yeah, there was definitely not that much. Yeah, I wish I thought to invent some backstory or something for you, but I don't have.
Don't, if it's not done.
I don't have anything like that at all. So it's so funny because I was just having this conversation with my former wife, Alan, because I go, how did we come up? By the way, I got the coolest ex-wife. We just had Thanksgiving together, her boyfriend, her family, we're all like still close. And I'm going, how did we come up with this secret knock thing? And we're analyzing it, because I used to call it a different name called the Success Sabbatical. And what happened is that she came up with the concept of secret knock, from, she went to some speakeasy bar in like this area, and you had to know someone, knock on the door and they slid it open, type of a thing. And we go, what's interesting is when going around the world and interviewing all these amazing people wanted to meet these individuals. So I got to sit down with the founder of Chick-fil-A restaurant, the founder of NASCAR, the founder of Remax, the founder of everything. And so what happened is we said, well, what do we do with this gathering? We'll bring in these people rather than sell tickets. Bump and a bump. You got to know the secret knock to get in. And it became a thing. And we started with 12 people in the living room, and now we're Forbes Inc. Entrepreneur top event in the world for business leaders. And what's really cool is we're sold out 6 months early every single time. And the secret is it costs $3,000 to attend, but we don't tell our clients where it is or who will even be there. No one knows anything. We just tell them the city, state, date. That's all. That's it. And then it's up to them to make their plane reservations. And right before, we drip the secret location. And by doing that, we've attracted some of the most powerful people in the world. So like when President Vicente Fox came, he didn't have to have Secret Service, but he got to come on stage and share how George Bush tried to, convince him to go to war in Iraq. And we did a private Skype with Edward Snowden while he's hiding in Russia. We just brought in Carol Baskin from the Tiger King, who, we asked her point blank, what happened with your ex-husband? More importantly, what about this Joe Exotic guy? And it's very interesting to give people a voice that they normally wouldn't speak, but more importantly, that it's not been filtered and censored through all the major media. So when you hear it directly from the source, it's completely different. It's just like we're talking about the words being different. Well, their interpretation of it was completely different than the way that the media expressed.
That's so cool.
Mm-hmm.
So you created a context where people feel safe to share their secrets.
That's it. And so, and this one's going to be coming up, is going to be extremely that way. So for example, all we're asking people to do is tell us your secrets. So no one wants to hear anyone talk for 90 minutes about how awesome they are. What they want to do is hear their secret. So for example, if we bring someone up who's an Oscar-winning film producer, we go, what's the secret? How does Hollywood work? And he goes, well, that's easy. If you go up there right away when you meet someone, a yes means no, a no means no, a maybe is all you're looking for. I go, what are you talking about? He goes, people all the day in Hollywood, hey, yeah, we're going to make you a star. Yeah, we're going to get you millions of dollars. He goes, that means no. No means no. But someone says, hey, that actually sounds like a good idea. Send us over the script. Let's have a meeting with our staff and see if we can get that in production. That's all you're looking for. And so once you start learning these codes of every single thing, it's amazing how the doors of opportunity start suddenly opening up because you know what you're looking for. Again, you know the secret knock.
It comes back to the wow. So you want wow, you make it clear. So you bring clarity to people by breaking into steps, by bringing people which have to share their secrets, and then you make them share them in a way so that people can make a structure out of it and apply into their lives.
If they choose to. So that's the biggest challenge of personal development, is that we can give all the information in the world. We can give every trick in the world, but it's up to people to do something. And again, it's the action of the law of attraction that makes your dreams come true. Think it, feel it, get off your ass, take action. You got to do something. Everyone has $1 million idea in the shower. Everyone has $1 million idea. But by the time they brush their teeth, it's down the drain. To see it on a billboard 10 years later saying, there's my idea. The only difference between you and them is one person acted.
When did you get this belief of
Only saying it for myself and everyone around me. How many times have we been to a party or we went to something going, yeah, I invented the thing, but someone else, did it. Or, I too was going to go do that. The biggest awakening I had in personal development is the single largest obstacle for people is their butt. And it's never the one they're sitting on. They sit there and say, I'd go do that too, but, and it's that but that stops us.
wow. I like that. You can switch it and with an and. Switch body with an and.
There you go.
All right. So the first thing you said is an awesome dad. I think you are an awesome dad. And you know what was interesting to me when Colt came and presented himself? He presented as a ways of being. Like in your house, he's somehow. In your ex-wife house he's somehow. I forgot the words. I think they were different. I remember that they were different. And I'm really curious why and how and what's the mindset? Like, what are you trying to teach? What is it like? What's there?
Okay, so what you just said, I believe, is that we have two different lives for my son. So, for example, the lifestyle he lives at my house is different than the lifestyle he lives at his mother's house, which is 100% true. So, for example, and it's not even fair and reasonable, to be honest with you. So, at his mom's house, he goes to school, he does his work, he's kind of grinding away. And then he comes to my house on the weekends, and it's playtime and Disneyland and stuff like that. So, it's not a fair tit for tat because they're two different lifestyles. So that's what we're talking about, number one. But we still have the same belief systems. Majority of our stuff we agree upon, and the things we don't agree upon, we agree to not agree. It's not a conflict. So that's that part. But the things that we're learning is, as we go, is, I'm learning for myself through personal development. Again, the whole thing about the toughest part about personal growth is the growth part. And I'm constantly growing. So for example, I did one of these podcasts a while ago, and someone says, do you give your son money to do things he doesn't like to do, like make his bed, pull the weeds, do the laundry? I go, absolutely. I want my son to learn the power of money and the respect of cash flow. And they said, that's too bad. You're ruining your child for the rest of his life. I said, what are you talking about? So think about it. It says, from the earliest of memory, you're training your kid. The only way to make money is to do something he hates. I said, all right. So I sat him down and said, Colt, I go, listen, on Instagram, I got millions of followers. You make really cool videos. From now on, you're my videographer. I go, I'll pay your allowance and give you the dough that you want for your video games for doing that. And I go, by the way, why don't you just make your bed and do the stuff as contribution for living in this lifestyle that you get a partake in. He said, okay, but the moment we change that paradigm, everything changed. So all the time when you're seeing on video on Instagram, you're seeing all these cool TikTok videos with music and stuff. That's him, a 10-year-old kid, making them for me. And that's the way that he actually makes his income, doing what he thrives at.
So cool. Yeah, that's one thing. But then he presented himself like, I'm courage. I'm like, um
Oh yeah,
he
that's
has
his
ways
mantra.
of being, yes, and that's what I meant, because he has some ways of being in different places, different ways of being, and that's what I was trying to understand. Why?
Now I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
So my kid does this thing called the mantra, and he basically
Yes.
has two different versions of it. So at his mom's house, it's like, I am loving, I am kind, I am thoughtful, I am what have you. They're all feelings. And at mine, his mantra is, I am powerful, I am brave, I'm wise, I'm worthy, I'm successful, I help people. So mine were very dominant, and they were very, I guess they still are dominant, but they were more emotion felt at his mom's. And it was interesting. I didn't know that he had two different versions of it. So it was really cool to find that out for myself. You learned it at the same time I did.
Oh, but what's with this mantra? Like, what is it? Like, you're teaching him to pay attention to how he is instead
Yeah,
of
the whole
versus
idea
what.
is that you become, okay, thoughts become things by the actions in which we take, right? And so when we sit there and say, I am powerful, I am brave, I am wise, I'm worthy, I'm successful, I help people. Well, guess what? He finds himself when other kids are struggling, he tends to help them. And he doesn't know why. It's innate, because those are the words that he says to himself. And he's the one who chose his words. I didn't choose them. He chose those words. I might have led them. I don't even remember anymore, to be honest with you, because he's been doing it his whole life. But it's very interesting to see the words that he chooses to implant to his brain. But also, it's a positive reinforcement of the way he lives his life. All right, we got 6 more minutes.
All right, one more question to you. Why do you mentor people?
Well, I believe we all need mentors in our lives, and I've had amazing ones to help me. And it's just passing it on and honoring the mentors who have worked with me. And understand this, there's a difference between a mentor and a coach. A mentor is a non-paid activity. It's an older, wiser person that's just one step ahead of where you've been. Where a coach is someone who kicks you in the tail and makes it come to life. So, for example, I could have a mentor and say, Greg, you need to lose weight. Then I hire a coach to kick me in the ass to wake me up to go to the gym. They're two different people. And we should have multiple coaches and mentors in our life. So, for example, I go to my tennis coach who's teaching me my backhand, but I'm not going to ask him about financial literacy. And I'm not going to ask my speaking mentor about, writing books. So, what I do is I find people that I have respect for, not people I have influence over, and I ask them for guidance. And by doing so, the doors of opportunity continue to open.
That's so cool. I never thought about like the difference between mentors and coaches.
Two different people. So yeah, mentor is a non-paid activity, or at least in my viewpoint. That's what I believe.
Who were
And
your
that's,
mentors?
gosh, I've had so many. I mean, like right this second, I just, it's plethora. So Dave Corbin, which you've met multiple times, is a major mentor in my life. And what's interesting, I'm also to a stage where I'm outgrowing my mentors, and that's the greatest way that you can honor them, right? When you start excelling and doing really well, and you outgrow your mentors, you need to go in a different direction. So right now, I'm looking to do a TV show, which and so I'm teaching people. I'm looking for people that are experts. So you met like the founder of E Entertainment at my house, Larry Namer, because that guy's done it. The same thing as the founder of Showtime, the same thing as the founder of so I'm constantly surrounding myself with people that are getting the results that I want for myself in any chosen field. So again, if I'm writing books, I'm seeking the top #1 best-selling authors in the world because I want to learn that. Now I've mastered it. So then I did movies. So I went to the top Oscar winners and Golden Globes and networks and find out what they did, and we had success there. So now I'm looking towards television, and now I'm seeking those people.
You're asking them how to do it, and then they
The
tell you.
secret. That's secret. Yes.
That's
And
secret.
once you learn the tricks, again, we were falsely taught as children to work hard your whole life, and it's such BS. It's just constantly working and leveraging with amazing people. Why should I spend 10 years of my life working in Hollywood and going through the trenches when I could just go right to the top and say, hey, what's the code? Oh, yes is a no, and no is a no, and maybe is what you're looking for. Thank you. It just saved me 10 years of my life. Why? It makes no sense. So I'm constantly looking for these cheat codes of life.
You're an amazing human being. Oh my God. Thank you, Greg.
Anything for you, anytime. I got to go. Bye.
All right. Enjoy your day. Thanks.